Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Surf and Sales podcast here with my good friend, Scott Leese, and my other super good friend, Mr. Max Altschuler, worldwide renowned sales hacker, entrepreneur, mini VC, and of course, outreach marketing genius. So Max, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the warm welcome. Great to be here.
Yeah.
You forgot acclaimed world traveler and photographer.
Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah.
I kind of want.
How many
Max
countries
to go back
now,
on
Max?
the road.
In a past life, yeah. Right now I'm not on the road. Obviously, circumstances call for staying indoors. But with a baby now, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to get outside the country and get to all these places again. So we'll see.
So,
maybe we take her on a safari in a couple of years.
So let me ask you a question, Max. So how many times have you had to send your passport in to get more pages? He doesn't even know it's so many times.
Probably, yeah. I think 4 times since 2010 or 2009.
All right. And are you at the stage of you're counting how many countries you've been to, or how many countries you still have left to go to? Right.
Been to, yeah. I mean, I never really counted until I think like one day I was stuck on a plane on a tarmac and I was like, had no Wi-Fi, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I just took out a notepad and started, and I realized I was at like 78. Since then I added 2 more.
Wow.
So I'm at 80 right now, which feels like a good number. It was a good number to like kind of stop at for a little while because with the kid.
What's been the most unexpected, interesting thing? Like, I know you've been to a lot of the popular places, right? But what's one of those sort of off the beaten path places that you've gone to that just
I'll tell you the most
really opened the eyes?
I'll tell you the most unexpected, interesting thing, and then I'll tell you a place. Thing is how awesome people are. If you like sit on Twitter and read the news, you think like people are pretty awful. Because in general, that's all you hear. It's like doom and gloom. And there have been so many situations where like people have just been really amazing. Like they take you in and show you open up their world to you. Like you meet their families, you meet their friends. I mean, we had these girls in South Africa when we were down there for the World Cup. We were staying at some crummy hostel that they overpacked with like beds because they were taking advantage of the crowd that was in for the World Cup. And we met these girls and they were just like, come stay with us. Like, we have a guest house you can stay in. It was amazing. They like put us up. We met their families. We ate dinner with their families. Like, they took care of us. And that was pretty incredible. I met people when I was in Peru, I met a couple people in Australia that they were living in, they were from Perth. Like, when am I ever going to get to Perth? Like, it's so off the beaten path in Australia. It's like going to Sydney and then taking another like 5-hour flight all the way across the country to go to this one little city that like has nothing else in it. And I was backpacking through Australia and I figured, why not? I'll go to Perth. And I hit them up. It was like a year and a half after I had met them. I think we had hung out for like one night in Peru. And, I expected like, hey, we'll meet up for a drink or something like that. These girls are so nice. They essentially like take me in, put me up, don't stay at a hostel, come stay with us. They show me around. They take me to all the places, like took off work for me for like 5 days. It was pretty incredible. So I think like people in general, a lot of times I was just like, you know what, I was in a weird place in my life. Before I started traveling, I had been in 2 triple homicides 2 years in a row as like an innocent bystander. So like I was kind of just like, what's the worst that could happen to me if these things are happening in the United States? Like, I'll just go anywhere and do anything. And I kind of just let like put it to the wind, put caution to the wind, let the spirits guide me type thing. And I think in a lot of ways, that kind of saved me. But also just seeing how amazing people were. That was like the thing that I point to that was pretty incredible that I learned. Place, well, it depends where you are in your life. These days I'm a little more bougie. And so Tokyo is like, everything about that place is amazing to me. Every type of food you eat is incredible, and it's super minimalist. So my OCD feels right at home there. If you look at a picture of Tokyo, you'd be like, this isn't minimalist, but everything you go into is like super clean, all wood, white and black, no funky colors, nothing like that, nothing that doesn't need to be there. But if you were talking to me when I was backpacking, and if you want to know more about that, I think Peru is pretty incredible. You get like the best of everything in Peru. You get the beaches, you go up to Mancora, you got a little surf town, you go inland to Iquitos, Urubambaque, you've got the Amazon, you go down to Lima, and like I could completely move my family and live in Lima. It's such a city. Then you got the mountains, you've got, you know, the Mayan ruins and all that. It's just an incredible country, and the people are really nice. So Peru was top of my list.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Can you, or if you're comfortable about it, I mean, you brought something I didn't know. It was very shocking to me about these two incidences you witnessed. What happened? I mean, are you if you're not comfortable or you can't, that's okay. But I'm just curious what that was like.
Yeah, no, I was a student at Arizona State my freshman year. We were walking home maybe like 2 in the morning after the bars just closed, and I guess there was a bar fight at a bar maybe like a mile down the street. It was less than a mile, maybe half a mile down the street. And the 2 cars peeled out of the parking lot coming in our direction. They were shooting each other. And so we hit the ground, bullets hit the wall behind us. And then one of the cars essentially like rolled to the side, and there were 3 dead people in it. And so the cops showed up and they caught the people. You know, I had to get deposed for it. Didn't remember much. I mean, it was a normal night. We were out drinking. It was probably Friday or Saturday night. I'd imagine they were out drinking at the bar, got in a little bar fight, and it spilled out into, you know, the parking lot and so on and so on. So, you know, that was one. And then the second one was a bit harder. It was a year later, and some guy killed 2 of my friends and himself. And, you know, that was pretty crazy. So that was my freshman and sophomore year at Arizona State. Had a great time otherwise, but those things were pretty traumatic. And so my junior year, I went and studied abroad in Barcelona, which one, I was studying architecture at the time, which, you know, if you've been to Barcelona, it's an amazing architecture city. But 2, I think I just needed to get away. And before I went to Spain, I ended up doing 3 months in Costa Rica because I found this program where I can go learn some Spanish, and I just wanted to get away again. So I did San Jose, Costa Rica with a host family for 3 months, then went to Spain for a year. And then that kind of gave me the travel bug. Got to see the world, got to understand a lot of different cultures. I'm a big foodie, so, you know, I indulge everywhere I go, and also just like love people. I mean, I'm in sales. This is what I do for a career now, and it makes total sense. But like understanding other cultures.
What made you switch from architecture? What made you switch from architecture to sales?
Yeah,
that's not a common, you know, departure.
My junior year was 07-08. Housing market crashed. So, you know, I'm sitting there with looking down the barrel of a 5-year degree with potentially no jobs on the horizon. But the root of wanting to be an architect was that I love building. I like creating. And same thing about, you know, entrepreneurship. I think like one of the things I'm coin operated. I like making money. I don't know if that's like my upbringing or whatever, son of a financial advisor, you know, Jewish, whatever stereotype you want to put there, but like that coin operated has always been, you know, interesting to me. I always have these like random entrepreneurial endeavors growing up where my dad would get a phone call from the principal because I was selling my Halloween candy on the school bus or something like that, like things like that. And it was like elementary or like middle school, you know, you get the student shop money where you can go buy pencil erasers and you know, pencil sharpeners and notepads and stuff like that. And instead the kids were giving me the money for, you know, Skittles and Milky Ways and things like that. So I've always had that in me. So it was a smooth transition from building houses and buildings to building businesses. And when I came back from Barcelona, I tried to get a bike share program up and running, which is, you know, what they had in Barcelona and Paris at the time. They were the only 2 places. There was nothing like this in the United States. Now you have City Bike in a bunch of these different cities. But this would have been the first one in the US.
Do you think that you're an entrepreneur, you know, for life? I know you're focused right now on continuing to grow outreach and doing an amazing job, but like, do you see yourself starting and founding, you know, 1, 2, 3 more companies over the course of your life?
100%. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was like, I want to make enough. I had this number. I was like, I want to be worth 20 after taxes by age 30 so I can retire. It's like, then you get to like 30 and you're like, why would I want to retire? What the hell would I do with my life? What am I going to do with my time?
There's only so much golf you can play, right?
Exactly. And like, even as we're in this like pandemic that we're going through right now with coronavirus, like I was thinking before, like I'm so glad that like what I do every day is also what I love and my hobby, because I can't imagine like sitting in the corner of my house doing that. Somebody's going to be, this preoccupies me in a way where I jump right in. My dad called me right before this call, and one of his closest friends just got on a ventilator, which is, you know, not a good situation. So I'm worried for my dad. They're in New York. Like, it's not a great place to be right now. It's the place where it's growing the fastest. But I can't imagine if I didn't love what I did, because as soon as I get on this call with you guys, I get out of it. Like, I love this. And so I'll build. I don't know what I'll build. I don't know if it'll always be tech. You know, I want to have a farm one day. I want to have like maybe potentially a vineyard or something like that. I love nature. I'd love to be out and, you know, find something with that. Always want to stay close to tech because, you know, I geek out on this stuff and I'm pretty good at it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm a builder to my roots, you know.
How much more equipped do you feel now than a few years ago when you first started Sales Hacker? You feel like you feel like you're sales hacker and you got like a master's degree now?
Yeah, I you know what, I'm still learning so much every day, and I think like the acquisition for Outreach was amazing from a lot of perspectives, but from a learning angle, like I'm just seeing so much around how the sausage is made and how VCs think, how the board thinks, how CEOs act, how leadership acts, how companies run, you know, from the inside. And in a lot of cases it's Outreach, but in some other cases it's how other companies are running. Like, I've got really good access into, you know, a lot of what the best companies are doing, and also what the worst companies are doing, so you can learn from both angles.
What are the things you've walked away with, just out of curiosity? Like, just
from what?
You know, for those leaders, for those other leaders who are listening, those early stage, you know, CEOs, or even, you know, expansion stage CEOs, what are some of the things that you've been like, oh, I didn't know that, when you think about from that acquisition point of view by Outreach, like, oh, these are 3 things I really learned that were really cool for me to understand now. You're going to pass that advice to somebody.
Yeah, you know, I think in SaaS there are quite a few things there are already playbooks for, but it's interesting how many there are not. And I always just thought, like, once you hit a certain level, like, there was just a playbook. Like, oh, we don't know the answer to this. Why don't we just ask our VCs what these companies are doing? And just because it's working for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You still have to like find your own way. There's still some navigating to do. There are things that, like, you know, I would typically try and do a lot faster that we move slow on. And almost every time I'm wrong. Almost every time I'm like, okay, I understand.
Like what? Give people some
slower.
Tactical. Yeah, I think every entrepreneur feels that, particularly every startup SaaS world feels that. Got to go fast, be first. What have you seen?
I think doing it right is better than doing it fast in a lot of cases. And I think as you scale, it's more important. And the early stages, you know, it's kind of like, what is it? Move fast and break stuff, or, you know, fail fast or whatever. And, you know, I agree with that to a certain extent, especially in the earlier stages. You kind of have to see what's working, see what's not. Everybody's stage appropriate. But once you get to a level of scale, you know, especially where Outreach is right now, like let's say 100 million ARR, you're no longer sticking bubblegum in the hole and saying, I'll patch that up later. Or like, oh, you know, I'm going to hold this thing together with, you know, Scotch tape and dental floss for now. Like, you actually have to start building infrastructure that's going to last like very, very long into the future. And I think to get to that point, you have to have that mentality where it's like, there's a leak. I can't just like stick my finger in it. We got some bubble gum. I'll stick that in there for now. And then at a certain point, you'll fix it. You'll get to if you're lucky, you'll get to the point where you could be able to fix it. And I think we're at that point now where it's like, okay, well, we have to make sure we're patching things up and like we're fixed. So transitioning from when you think about the Sales Hacker acquisition to the Outreach acquisition, transitioning from my previous mindset, which is like, patch it up when we have enough money or whatever time. We'll put a stronger fix in place. And at Outreach now we're putting those stronger fixes in place. So it's like you're no longer hiring somebody who's stage appropriate. You're hiring somebody who's, in it for the long run. And this is back to a lot of stuff that you talk about, Scott. It's like if you're taking a VP of sales job at a Series B company, the 1-year cliff at the 4-year vest is bullshit, because you're probably stage appropriate. You're probably only going to be there for 2 years. You're hiring me at 10 million ARR and you're telling me I'm going to take you to 30. If I take you to 30 in 2 years, I should get paid my full amount for the 20 that I took you in 2 years. But if you want to pay me on a 1-year cliff and a 4-year vest, then I'll take you to 30 in 5 years so I can get all my equity, but you're not going to be as happy because I could have done it 3 years sooner. And that's not really how the world works, but it kind of is what it is. Like, if you hire people stage appropriate, that's what they do. I know a bunch of people who are great at 1 to 10, 1 million to 10 million ARR sales leaders.
That's me. That's Richard.
But then they don't scale past 10. So, but putting them on a comp, situation for an equity vest where the 1-year cliff, 4-year vest, like if they haven't gotten you to 10 in 3 years, you're probably toast in some of these situations. So shouldn't you just give them all their equity when they hit 10 and then go get the guy who's going to do the 10 to 50 or whatever the next bucket is?
How much of that from your perspective is VC led in their resistance and inflexibility to that versus founder led and just sticking to kind of norms and whatnot?
It's status quo led. I don't think anybody's enforcing it. I just think that people are like, oh, that's not how it's been done before. Yeah. But honestly,
and I think there's not enough people challenging that particular status quo.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if every sales leader in the world was like, okay, hell no, like I'm not doing a 4-year vest. I'm not going to work because we're at 0 right now. I'm going to get you to 10 or 20. It's going to take me 2 or 3 years. And for doing that stage appropriate job, I should get my full allocation of equity. If everybody said that, they wouldn't be able to hire anybody else, right? So is there not enough education for us? Is there not enough resistance? How do we change this a little bit?
What founders and VCs need to remap out is what is the amount of equity they want to allocate to a VP of sales through a certain number. So instead of saying like, oh, we're going to give this person, 1% and they have a 1-year cliff and a 4-year vest, and in that time frame, they're going to get us from point A to point B. It's like, all right, we're at, let's say 0 right now. We want to get to 100 million. How much equity do we want to allocate to a VP of sales to 100 million? And then break it down that way. So, you're going to hire the person who's going to go, 0 to 10, then you're going to go 10 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, and you're going to hire 4 different VP of sales, and you have, 5% total allotment for that VP sales to get you to 100. These are just, arbitrary numbers I'm making up right now, but then back into what each person deserves to hit each level of scale. Like the 0 to 10 person is probably going to get the most because they're taking the most risk. So on and so on. So maybe they back into it that way, and then they know exactly what they're getting and what they're giving away to get to 100.
Yeah. Does that mean that you're on a? So Max, does that mean you negotiated with Manny a 2-year vesting schedule?
Well, I have that anyway because I have a 2-year earnout. So
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I have a 2-year earnout with a 3rd-year option for.
He's like, yeah, you son of a bitch, I did, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go anywhere right now on a fucking cliff. And I
agree.
It's a cursing show, but I wouldn't go anywhere right now on a cliff.
No, it is.
I don't do any of my advisory on a cliff. All my advisory is 0.25%, depending on the stage, with a 2-year vesting monthly, no cliff. I'm an asset. Why would I go somewhere for free for a year? That's bullshit. I don't know. I'm not
even vesting in my gigs right now. I'm getting
just cash
options straight away. Cash, but like I also take equity, but it's like instantaneously vested.
It depends how much elbow grease you're putting in. Like if you are working for them, then that's one thing. I'm purely advisory, so like you call me when you need something and I'll get it done. So it's a little bit different. I haven't had any I've had I've had 2 advisories out of like probably 30 or so that have ended early. Both companies went out of business. So nobody's ever been happy in staying in business that has ended an advisory early.
What's, just out of curiosity, we're in the middle of this pandemic. I'm going to shift a little bit again. You know, I know lots of companies like Zoom and Outreach this has actually been interesting because people are coming into these companies, right? Your leads are growing. A lot of people need this level of engagement. I think we all know that the SDR role is going to shift. We've known it's going to shift for a while, but the overhiring of SDRs is going to shift, and they're going to bring in more of these engagement tools. Just out of curiosity, I was thinking about this morning, was, wow, if I were an SDR and was thinking something might change, I might go ask to move into customer success, because for the next 6 to 12 months, that's where the real money's going to, not, you know, the long-term strategy is. How are you guys adjusting to this, right? I know you're hiring still, so.
We're still hiring.
But what is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a unique situation, so my advice isn't applicable to everybody, but, you know, we raised 114 million last year, so we have, you know, somewhere between 1 and 200 in the bank, you know, so like we're not the type of company that's going to like freeze or anything right now. We see this as an opportunity to accelerate ahead of the pack because they might be freezing, and so we're continuing. R&D is still getting the investment, marketing, everything's still getting the investment. I think where we're going to, if anything, like pause a little bit is emerging sales development, emerging sales, and then refocus that on customer success and I'd say enterprise and strategic accounts.
Gainsight's poised very well for this moment.
I mean,
can I ask a follow-up question on the fact that you guys are hiring right now? One of the things that I'm running into and being asked a lot of questions about right now is, how am I going to train my new hires remotely? So I'm curious what you guys have in place over there, and if you have any, you know, kind of best practices around remote training and onboarding of staff. I think that is a big reason, at least what I'm hearing, a big reason why people are freezing their hiring. It's not so much that they can't, so they're just like, I don't know how to onboard anybody right now.
Well, you know, a lot of stuff can be done over Zoom in terms of like education. We've got Confluence and a couple different apps we use for training material, collateral, things like that they need to dig into. But, you know, we sell our product to salespeople. Salespeople use it. So we hire people that have used Outreach, or we can train people pretty well on Outreach virtually. And then it just so happens that our product helps that everything remote work hurts. And that 100% specifically includes ramping reps. So, you know, we can plug and play people pretty quickly right into Outreach, and they have all their sequences, all their content, all their snippets already queued up for them. They understand, if they understand their talk tracks and they get trained up on Zoom and they speak to our other reps and things like that, and they do a lot of role playing, they can get pretty up to speed pretty quickly. We do pair them with solution consultants. So if there are like deeper technical questions, they can learn on the fly by roping in solution consultants into the deal cycles when there are things that they don't know the answers to. But, you know, our platform mixed with Zoom pretty much creates an ideal environment for, you know, hiring remote reps. So I would say that we're seeing a good amount of inbound and a good amount of upsell from companies right now that are on the bigger side. We're still going to lose with the bottom, you know, when the bottom falls out, all these SMBs go out of business. We're still going to lose that. We'll see how that shakes out and if that bounces back at some point. But you know, we're not having ramp problems, I'd say, internally, and we're putting out a lot of content in the next few weeks around kind of work from home life, remote life. So it's inside sales teams that are now work from home. It's field sales that are now inside or work from home. It's, you know, all the new things you need to do, and coming from empathy and things like that when it comes to a situation like this. So there's a lot of training and education that needs to be done here.
Yeah, I see it on the other end too. As I have a particular company I'm working with that is, Richard, we don't know how to do inside sales. We've got to take our 500 sales reps inside, and they're still referencing it as a telesales company, as a telesale. Right. We've got to turn our field reps into telesales. And I'm like, okay, first problem you have is you don't get it, like just straight up. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, okay, there's no difference. There really isn't. Maybe you got to learn how to position your camera, and maybe you got to learn a couple things, but the conversation's still the same, right? And they keep saying, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, how do you feel like this conversation's going? I'm like, oh, it's going great. Well, I'm not doing anything now that I wouldn't do in front of you. Like, there's not a whole lot, Yeah. So I think some people are overcomplicating this shift. And I think for people like us, where we've been in inside sales, like, I never wanted to be an outside sales. I did it 1 year, and I thought it was
me neither.
It was a colossal waste of time for me. There are those of us who just get it. And we're like, oh, all right, well, what I'm focusing in on, if I were someone like Outreach, is how do I keep the culture alive? How do I keep the sharing going? How do I keep that sort of energy of being in the office together going forward? Yes, I still train. Yes, I still coach, but there's a little bit of change to that, because you got to be mindful of schedules and time zones and that kind of stuff. But it's way more logistical in my mind for someone like Outreach than it is, training and onboarding, right? Because other people just don't get it. So what are some of, Max, one of the things you're really well known for is what you did at Udemy, and you just sort of hacked your way through this process, right? You sort of went and figured out all these tools, and you were like the first person to write this book about, oh, I use this tool for this and use this tool for that. I mean, you really are, a godfather of these things, right? And you were in your early 20s. What are the tools you like today? What's new, right? You mentioned this one, Confluence, that I've never heard of. What are the tools you like today?
Yeah, Confluence is just like part of like Jira and Atlassian. So it's like a Showpad or a Highspot type stuff. We probably have to figure out our plan from a content standpoint. We've got to hire out quite a bit in our sales enablement function. So if there's anybody listening, we're hiring sales enablement. We got headcount open there. So we got to probably clean that up a little bit. Our team is geeking out over the thing you shared the other day, that Krisp.ai, by the way, for the background noise. So thanks for that one. Tools I like right now, Bombora is really interesting. We've got a tight integration coming there, but it's all about intent data, surge data. So understanding what your buyers are interested in and capitalizing on those opportunities. So kind of right timing for something like account prioritization type stuff. I haven't seen 6 Sense lately, but it's kind of in similar buckets like that, intent. So when that works, it's really interesting. And for a long time, it got really hot in like sexy category in like 2015, 2016, but then it had this 3-year down, where just like, okay, well, that's cool in concept, but nobody's seen it work well. And I think it's making a comeback now, because after like 4 or 5 years of toying with it, they're starting to get it right. So I think that's an interesting category to watch out for.
Don't you think that the influence of if I were a head of sales and it's like, oh, I could buy Outreach, or I could buy this intent data thing, which requires some thinking, right? Which requires me to digest something, interpret it.
I mean,
right. Yeah. Versus Outreach, which is say like, oh yeah, let's just focus. And not that Outreach has ever positioned themselves as a volume play, but that's, the pressure that's being put on people, right? Like, yeah. I think sometimes people
you tell me, what am I?
You're finally getting smarter, right? Like, I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, well, so then what's the question? The question is the question like, what would I buy if I had unlimited budget right now? Is the question like, what
Sure.
do I advise founders to buy when you don't have unlimited budget? Is it just like, what's super niche,
you do both?
Interesting that I saw lately? Yeah, like, because then there's the ultimate stack, you know, which is your needs to have, your mission critical, and then your nice to haves, and then there's the and that could be,
and then there's the like
a lot of things.
Super nerd power user stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's go for it.
So what's in your mission critical these days, aside from outreach as an engagement platform? What else? Zoom, obviously.
You know, outreach, Zoom, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and Salesforce. Probably mission critical stack right there. What else would be in my mission critical? That's probably the stripped down one. I'd say the next level after that is like the Gong and Chorus bucket. There's the intent data bucket. There's the Highspot, Showpad, Seismic, that category of, sales enablement. OpenSense is, signature tracking, which I think is really interesting, really unique. We use it at outreach. It's not that expensive. We get a lot of bang for a buck out of that. What else? Well, there's Drift and Intercom. We use Drift at outreach. So those are like the mainstream kind of ones. We're looking at some of like the niche type things right now. I haven't seen something I geeked out on in a while. In our M&A, looking. So
yeah. I think you guys should buy Krisp. I think you guys should buy that tool. Or Zoom.
Yeah.
Somebody should, right?
Yeah.
So here's my question. So what do you think? So it's interesting because there's always this. Well, what's the cost per rep for the stack, right? And I think at Sales Hacker we've written about it. I think Grammarly, by the way, is another almost it's a must-have, particularly if you got work from home. Like Grammarly.
I don't know if it's tough to say what's a sales tool and like what what's a productivity thing.
What's a live tool? Right.
Loom.
Right.
Grammarly, Loom is something I've been geeking out on lately, but I wouldn't call it a sales tool per se. It could be used for that. I guess you can use it as kind of similar to like a Vidyard if you really wanted to, but short clip videos.
Are you a big proponent of video messaging, Max? In the sales and marketing approach? I'm not either. And most people I talk to jump down my throat when they tell me how wrong I am.
LinkedIn voicemails and video, LinkedIn voicemails and video and emails are two things that like personally I'm not, but I think like our team does a good job doing them and they do get responses. To each his own. So that's why we try and make it easy for you to do kind of multi different channels in your outreach. When you're using outreach, or one of our reps can try LinkedIn, try videos to see what resonates with that person on the other end, because there are some people that swear by LinkedIn voice, but like I'm not going to sit there and listen to a voicemail from somebody that like I don't know. It's just not happening. Like there's no hook. It's 49 seconds. It's 16 seconds. I don't care what it is. Like I don't know what's in it. I'm not pressing play. On to the next thing. Like if I don't know the person.
Look at you turning into a grumpy old man.
I am a grumpy old man. I'm chasing kids down the block now. I had 2 kids playing ding dong ditch at my house. I chased them down the block and caught them.
You'll get grouchier when it hurts too bad to chase them down. You're just like, I can't even.
Yeah. I got in the car. I had the keys.
You're advancing
I got
quickly.
in the car. I cut him off. One kid ditched the bike and ran. The other kid like froze, and he's like, "It wasn't us. We didn't ring your doorbell." And I didn't even say anything, so he already incriminated himself. Like classic little kid. And I just said to him, I was like, "Listen, whether it was you or somebody else, please tell them that I got a sleeping baby at home. I'd appreciate it if you don't ring the doorbell in the middle of the day." He said, "Oh, okay." And I turned around.
Life lesson for that kid, hopefully.
Yeah,
but Max,
exactly.
Let me give you the life lesson. Let me give you a life hack. Maybe you figured this out because of this. You put a note over the doorbell that says, "Please knock, don't ring, sleeping baby."
Well, I was going to change my doorbell sound to a so that they scare them off.
I love that. I love that.
So they think it was a shotgun cocking or something like that. They never come back. There's no ding dong anymore. I don't know how to do that, so I'll put that on pause. Instead, I'll chase them down. Yeah, if they come back, I don't know. I'll figure it out. We don't have a Ring doorbell at this house, so we got to get one of those video ones. They won't ring that one.
I got one more question for you about the sales stack. Coming back to that, right? So there's this cost per person for the sales stack, and I've been coaching people, and I assume you would agree that you don't complain about the cost of the sales stack until after you've bought your outreach, your Salesforce, your LinkedIn Navigator. Like those aren't even mission critical. They're just as common as to me is like, you look at the cost of your sales stack, that's required. Like, and if I'm looking to get a job and you don't have those things, I'm out of here. Like, I don't even want the job. Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think the average cost, and I'm just curious, and I wonder if you guys even do this. What is the average cost of a sales stack?
I'm not sure we look at it that way because it's different for every company. And like CS might have some actual data on this, like numbers. I haven't dug into it. I think it's about the ROI that you get from your stack. So before you do anything, when you're an early stage company, you should understand your sales process and then like know what plugs into that process really easily. You send emails, you make phone calls, at least I'm biased, but whatever, outreach plugs into that. You already do that. You have to store data and keep track of, deals. You didn't have Salesforce, you do it in a spreadsheet. Okay, you need a CRM. You got to go get contact info. You're not going to have a team of virtual assistants in the Philippines go out and collect individual information if you can get a platform that doesn't deliver it to you automatically. So you go get contact info. You use LinkedIn, whatever else. So, and then like once you have the stuff that's hyper logical like that, the next level is, okay, we're getting a little more sophisticated with our processes. Maybe you say to yourself, like, okay, we're coaching our reps right now by listening to phone calls. What if there was a way we can, save time doing this and get a lot more granular about the information? All right, let's look at a Gong or a Chorus or whatever else. We are keeping collateral in Google Drives and it's getting, jumbled around and it's getting harder for the reps to find the right thing at the right time. Okay, we need a Seismic or Showpad or Highspot or one of these companies. We've got leads coming to the site and they're filling out forms, and we should really have somebody, managing a chat. Okay, it's time to get a Drift or an Intercom. I think like once you understand that it's already a part of your process and that the ROI is going to be high on it if you plug in some level of automation, then it's okay. And I think you got to measure things by ROI. You have to say, okay, what is this going to get us? Your sales tech stack has to be a profit center, not a cost center. If it's a cost center, then you're not doing something right, or you overdid it. You didn't figure out your process first and see if you really needed to spend the money on something. And you didn't stack rank it. Like you didn't say like, there is a good exercise of saying like, okay, I've got 100 jelly beans and that's it. What percent of those jelly beans go to this? What percent of the jelly beans go to that? And then you whittle it down and you say, okay, after my core stack, I've got 30% of my jelly beans left. How am I going to allocate those? If Gong or Chorus is 200 a seat, but this, that, and the other thing are 15 a seat, am I going to get higher ROI from, going that direction and putting it all into, one of those conversational intelligence companies?
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to think about it. By ROI, by what are we going to get out of it?
I don't disagree with that. I think I do start even a little sooner, because as somebody who's been building sales teams, my first thought is I need something to attract people to the company and to the opportunity. And so I think of it similar to the facilities that like power football schools have, right? Like weight room facilities, practice facilities, training access, all this kind of stuff, right? And you go to a place like University of Texas and the facilities are amazing. You go someplace else and facilities are subpar, right? It's like, which place do I want to go? And I think to Richard's point, like more and more sellers, I think, are going to refuse or just not be interested in in roles that don't have some of these kind of core tools, right? And even a nice to have or two. So I was always trying to think, well, I got to have these things because I'm not going to be able to hire anybody without these. In addition to them being ROI positive. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of it. I'm going to be able to get better talent and attract better talent and the talent that I want because I have outreach or sales officer, or I have, this, that, or the other thing, right? So I know that the best people want to use the best platforms, and they're not going to sit there and work from the inbox or work from their CRM, work from their system of record or their email.
They don't want to work. They don't want to work the way we did in the Stone Age, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Scott. When I first met Scott, we didn't even have to. We were find these people on LinkedIn or on real internet and just dial them. Don't track if you called them before. Don't worry if someone else has already called them.
I didn't even have a headset.
No.
When I took over running marketing for outreach, we were it was 5 weeks from Dreamforce. We had paid for a billboard, but we hadn't done any work on it because there was a gap between me and the previous VP of marketing by a little bit. And we're like, all right, let's throw something up there. But I want to do something that ties to Dreamforce a little bit. So we did a billboard, and it was kind of the first picture or icon was what was it? It was like a rotary phone, and it was the year the phone was invented. And then it was a desktop computer, old school one, and then it was the year that was invented. And then it was what was it? The cloud logo, the cloud thing, and the year the cloud started, and then it was the outreach logo. And the whole thought is the evolution of sales. When sales first started, it was door to door, and then the phone was invented. So if you were a door to door salesman and you didn't take advantage of the phone, then you could only sell to a couple block radius, versus the person with the phone could sell to anybody in the world. And maybe you could sell better face to face. The person using the phone could do face to face also. So you're at a disadvantage no matter what way you cut it. Then the computer was invented, and now you can send emails. It's the person with the computer and the phone was now at a much bigger advantage than the person that was door to door, the person with just the phone and door to door. And then the cloud, and they had CRM. So you had the person with the Rolodex on their desk versus a cloud database. Of course, the person with the cloud database is going to have an advantage. And then we say the next logical thing was outreach was created. And so you were the story we're trying to tell, or the picture we're trying to paint, is you would be at a severe disadvantage if you didn't take advantage of this next new this technology in your stack. Yeah. Now there's a lot of things that happened in between there. There's the personal letter, there's LinkedIn, there's all kinds of stuff like that. But
it's such a common objection that everybody gets too. Yeah. It's oh, I'm good. I've been doing the business this way for God knows how long. And you pause and you challenge them on it. And you're well, hold on a second. You didn't used to have an iPhone. Cool. You didn't used to have a laptop, right? Your business has evolved,
Your competitor is using all the evolved technology, and you're not. Sorry, what do you think's going to win here? You can be the best salesperson in the world, but
I love to ask them, what do you think they're doing that you're not doing that's making them be so successful?
Go to the person who thinks they're the best salesperson in the world. Go to a Grant Cardone, take away his private plane and his car keys, and say, all right, you're back in the Stone Age, door-to-door salesman. Go out, sell me. You think that? Do you think he thinks he'd even win? Right? I mean, I got phone, I got email, I got everything. Sell the same product. He can only walk around. Let's put him in a random neighborhood in Lexington, Kentucky, or something like that. Go. Doesn't matter how good you are at sales or how good you think you are at sales. If you're neglecting, modern technology and modern process, it's not going to go well.
So we're coming to the end, Max, and this is our favorite question to ask of everybody, which is, you've been very gracious with your time. You've shared a lot of knowledge, but what can Scott and I do to help you? How can we help you? How can we help Manny? How can we help Mr. Krillin, Mark Kosoglow? What can we do to help you guys?
Just keep evangelizing. Keep doing your thing. These are great. Surf and Sales is great. Podcast is great. You guys are phenomenal thought leaders in our space. So just keep doing you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's
hope
that we can have Surf and Sales again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, you want to know how you can help? Create a cure for COVID. There you go.
Right.
Got a vaccine in your house, Richard?
That's up to you. That's on you, Richard.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So that's cool. By the way, I actually do have one. How are your wife and your new daughter? I know you're a new dad. Yeah.
She's 6.5 months. She's crawling and sitting up. We're feeding her on like her little high chair thing now.
Right.
We go on hikes every day out here in Scottsdale, and she's on the baby Bjorn on my chest. That's fun. We're getting this time. I mean, it's probably the only silver lining of this whole thing is the amount of time I'm getting to spend with my little girl at this time.
I think we all have.
Life, which has been pretty incredible.
And how are the dogs? The dogs okay with it?
Dogs are great. Dogs and baby are best friends. And we came out to Scottsdale. We have a little more space to move around, so it's not as bad had we been stuck in a city somewhere. Max
is at the beautiful stage. He's got his daughter and the baby Bjorn.
Yes.
I'm in the backyard watching my 12 and 10-year-old boys shoot a bow and arrow into the target.
Right.
That's where we're at. They're practicing for Walking Dead season 52.
Exactly.
That sounds fun. They'll come in handy in the apocalypse.
Hey,
you got that.
Not a bad skill. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Good to see you, man.
All right, Max. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.